Hey guys, welcome to our life coaching webinar experience. I'm Dr. Henry Cloud, and I'll be your host in this segment. And before we hop into the real meat and potatoes of this, I want to tell you a little bit about how we end up here, and then you can kind of take it from there. The other thing I'm going to do in the beginning is I'm going to talk about the overall structure of the program. And so that's where we are headed. Now, how do we end up here watching us on a computer and all that stuff? Well, about, a couple of years ago or so, John and I both do a lot of coaching day to day with CEOs, with executive teams, with high-performing individuals, mostly kind of in that whole performance realm. But whenever you get into that, it also gets into life, because really we don't perform in our careers or reaching our goals or anything like that apart from the integrated whole of who we are. And so it ends up, about your emotional health sometimes, or about your relational health, etc. And that's kind of what we do day to day. Now, what we decided to be able to do something together, and also to be able to do it for a little larger group, was we decided to have a 1-year experience where every month we would bring in the same group for the course of a year, and we took them through a 1-year life coaching experience. And we would have, 40 or 50 people there in the room. We divided them up into small teams for them to work together. And we would present a path over the course of a year of how to change some significant area of your life. And we actually worked with them and interacted and et cetera, et cetera. Well, the results of that were so powerful. And, I could jump up and down and scream and stuff, but I'm telling you, we saw people make major, major life changes in the areas I'm going to talk about in a minute. And it was so cool that we decided to do it again, or do it again. But B, we started having a lot of requests from people, even though many were flying in from all over the country once a month. We started having a lot of requests from people. Can I do this, because I can't come to Southern California, can you do it on the web? So what we decided to do was to create this experience that now you're a part of. And we're basically going to do the same thing. We did a lot of questions out there, a lot, to you and many of you and people like you about the right kind of mix. And what they told us was an hour once a month of us here, and then the assignments where you could go work on it is the right recipe. So that's what we are going to be doing. So a little bit about how we end up here. We're going to take you through basically kind of the same path. And that's kind of the overall structure. Now, the other thing about this is this, that you are not going to basically change any area of your life by only watching this broadcast. Okay? It's sort of like, dial 1-800 infomercial and you can take a pill and lose 80 pounds by morning. That ain't going to happen. But let me kind of orient you in the beginning here with a big picture of what happens in any kind of life change. And then we're going to hop into it specifically. What you're going to see when people change their lives is that there are 4 tracks that have to be running all of the time for real change to take place. Now, I'm going to get into this in greater detail. I'm just giving you a little bit of an intro here. And what you've got to make sure as you look at this year, when you want to change some significant area of your life, and it is going to be so cool how much you're going to change. I know this is true. Is that you got to have all 4 tracks running. Number 1, there have got to be relational components to what you do. So I want you to start thinking right here in the beginning that you are going to create some kind of relational context for you to accomplish the goals that you decide on. It may be an accountability partner. It may be a small team of 3 or 4 of you going through this together. You might add a coach. You might add a mentor. You might add a support group. There's a lot of different structures for the kind of relationships that you're going to need, but there must be other humans involved in your change process. No great performer ever became a great performer as a solo act. They had people helping them for encouragement and support, feedback, and a bunch of stuff. Okay, that's the first track. The second track is there will be information, and we're providing a lot of that over the course of this year. But we're also going to suggest some readings, and there's going to be other things that you find in, if it's marriage, or if it's dating, or if it's weight loss, or if it's starting a business, or if it's growing a business, whatever your goal is for this year, you are going to have to make sure that you're getting new information past what you already know. That's the second track. The third track is that you're going to have to experience stuff. And we're going to give you assignments, actually, to go out there and do things take the next step and have a stretch goal and go, learn a new skill and actually do some things instead of just sitting on the couch or sitting in front of your computer. And then the fourth one, and this is very important, is that all good change involves structure in a process. Now, the word structure, you know what that means? It literally means to build something. So if you're trying to build a dream, you're not going to do that when you get around to it. You're going to do it by having a time and a place and a space that you show up in. And that means once a month you're going to be here. It may mean once a week you get with your team of 3 or 4. It may be every day you talk for 15 minutes. Who knows? With your accountability partner. There are dosages, and the way the dosages work is you got to get enough of the first one. And before it totally runs out, you got to have that second call. And if the gaps are too big in between, people don't change. Okay. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at here. And we're going to be giving you a bunch of this stuff, but it's going to be up to you in between the broadcasts to be putting all this to work. All right. So having said that, let me hop into some of the specifics of this. You are designed for growth and success. Now, let me tell you why I say that. Many times, that's not our experience. We find in some area of life that it's just not working, and it doesn't really change when we try to change it. And so that becomes the new normal. Okay? Now, this is what I really want you to get. That when broken has become the new normal, what happens is you actually adapt your life to that. God created you to be fruitful. Okay? He created you to be fruitful. Now, what that means is when you get up in the morning like a plant and you're taking in resources in life that you are supposed to be, and I'm not putting you under a guilt trip here, you were designed to be fruitful in those 3 areas. Okay? Clinical, relational, and performance. Clinically, you're supposed to wake up and your whole being is throwing off fruit like a tree of energy and optimism and engagement, and you want to be there and you can't wait for the next day. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have hurts and wounds and losses and tragedies and all that. What it does mean, though, is as we go through all of those life traumas, we don't become symptomatic in some way, or that becomes the new normal where I am a depressed person forever, where I am an anxious person forever, where I have a habit pattern or an addiction that dominates me forever. In the clinical realm, you were designed for things not to be broken. You were designed to wake up in the morning and say, "Good morning, Lord," instead of "Good Lord, morning," where you had actually, good ways of feeling, etc. All right. Relationally, you were designed to be able to be close to people, your significant relationships, to be close to them, share, support, intimacy, fun, celebration, all of that kind of stuff. Marriage, dating, family, extended family, work relationships, etc. But relationships sometimes become the biggest source of pain, and that becomes a pattern. And just kind of settle there. See that a lot of times with singles who have kind of, they had a dream one time of creating a significant relationship and sort of like, oh, there's no good ones out there, and that becomes the new normal. And then on the performance side of life, having dreams and goals, you were designed, God has an investment in you. Okay? If Ferrari creates a factory and goes all this brain damage to design a car, and they create it and they make it and they send it out there. It was designed to be able to go 200 miles an hour around a track and make the turns and do all this cool stuff. And that's what the investment was about. And you know that God says you are his workmanship, created for good works that have been laid down beforehand so you could walk in them. And the deal is this, that he has made you with gifts to put to use where you're achieving dreams and you're achieving goals, and you go to work and you go to your hobbies and you go in the ways that you pull things off, that something actually happens, that it's fruitful. Okay, so here's the deal. You have had experiences in your life. You have had things happen to you. You've had a lack of resources and training and help, and some of your own stuff that you've added to it by choosing the wrong path, right? You know, not only are we sinned against, but we're also sinners. And basically, we find ourselves at any given moment, in any given day, not as fruitful in these areas as we are designed to be. And that becomes the new normal. And so I wanted to start this whole thing by reminding you to stop it, okay? Stop believing that the past is the future, because that is the message of the Bible, that the past is not the future. It says the future can be different. It gives us a formula to make it different. It gives us promises that God will be in the process of making it different. And not only that, if you're not a person of faith, research proves the constructs that we are talking about here basically are the ones that work. You know, what we've done, and not that there's not other stuff out there that works, and we're going to cover the whole map, but I'm telling you, everything that you will be hearing is validated by really good experience and research, okay? So I want you to suspend your belief that the way you are in any of these areas are the way that you're going to be.